Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The importance of culture in understanding how a person is influenced, the psychology behind culture, especially for the changing world culture, the global village, as well as the Muslim communities who are minorities living in non-Muslim cultures. First of all, we always say that Islam is a way of life. But we also understand that others have ways of life. What do we mean by ways of life? A way of life means it's a way, it's a path that you've trod throughout your life. You start somewhere and then you learn how to do things and move on and you strengthen yourself and finally you reach some point, some plateau where you are who you are right now today at this point. So a child is born in a place and is conditioned. There's, of course, the biological, the genetic, and then there is, of course, the environment, the nurturing, and both play a very important role. Now, when we understand that, so the child is raised in a community where everything is questioned, the education system pushes him or her to question everything. Everything is about expressing yourself the way you feel, everything you feel and how you feel. And this child, let's say, is coming from a family, a Pakistani family, for example. I'm not picking on Pakistanis, but, I'm just going to put it out there just as that. I love the Pakistanis. And they are surrounded by a culture that is pushing everything to be questioned, everything. Fast forward to the age of 18, the person leaves the house, leaves Islam, and the parents scratch their heads, they're depressed, they're hurt, that they don't understand what has happened. Well, can you necessarily fully blame the parents for this? No, but do they have certain, contribution to this? Yes. But bottom line, today what I'm talking about this lecture is not that. I don't want to pick on that. I've talked about this before, but I'm talking about understanding how does the culture influence that. So the person is being conditioned to question everything. Everything is to be questioned. As opposed to another culture where people will be having the same culture. What is culture, by the way? Is a shared belief and action by a group of, or a bunch of members of a society. So, for example, if you grow up in a society where respect for elders is a shared belief, most likely, this society is protected and the same belief is being propagated that the child, boy or girl, will come out respecting their elders and having some high value. And that's why you say, and that's why I picked the Pakistani, because they do in general have a high regard for elders, the concept of elders. So you cannot say to someone, hey, mister, you'll say, hey, uncle or auntie to the woman, right? It's a beautiful thing. Compare that and contrast that to growing up in a society where you watch Simpsons or the Bundys or King of the Hill, where it's just disrespect of parents and always focusing on the child, expressing themselves, being weird. And they watch that, they laugh, and it's entertainment, which is associated with feeling good. Fast forward again to the age of 18 and the child swears at his father or mother. And if the mother or father does anything, he'll pick up the phone. Police? What? I want to divorce my parents. I want to leave. I want to do this. So what today's short clip is about, to understand the psychology behind culture. There's environment that's conducive to promote a certain belief, i.e. respect for parents, i.e. love of God and religion and faith and so on, Islam, and environment that is not, that is asking you to question religion, question everything, be whatever you want, express your inner feelings, which of course are sometimes conditioned by many things that we watch and hear and see, and disrespect for the elders, and individualistic philosophy, hedonistic philosophy. So why do people get shocked when children leave Islam, when youth leave Islam, when they don't care about Islam, they leave the hijab, And I'm not saying that that's the only thing. But today's lecture, I just want to focus on culture. How culture is conducive and pushes a certain thing and conditions a person. So you're surrounded by people who are questioning. You're going to a non-Muslim high school. They're questioning, they're having sex, they're doing this, they're smoking weed. And then you're basically going back home and say, why can't I not do it? And the parent says, but beta, we've been like this. My son, this is our culture. And he says, but I don't like it. I want to express myself too. What can the parent do? What can the parent do? The parent's shocked because the child has been seeing around them all this extra. They're minority, remember. And there's an overwhelming majority sharing a sense of beliefs and ideas, philosophy, that you should express yourself. You should be, individualistic. You should do whatever you want, whatever you feel. And then your mom, Pakistani mom, comes at home, you come home and tells you, no, we have to respect elders. We have to love religion. We have to pray. We have to put hijab on. All these beautiful things, but they look at it as oppression, corruption, whatnot. So the child is looking around, conditioned every single day to believe that, feeling inferior and seeing the Western culture or the hedonistic culture as superior. So how can parents win in this kind of environment that is conducive to demoralize and remove the ethics that have been linked to Islam, to culture, to whatever? So you have this disconnect between the previous generation, parents, and the new generation, children. Yes, they might be brown, looking like Pakistani, maybe they even like biryani, but in the end, they're not. They don't share that culture. They might have certain elements of the culture. And of course, it's not black and white. It depends on many factors. How the parents, they were involved. Did they connect to the back home? Did they go back home? Different things, right? We can look into that, but that's not our objective today. The objective is just to understand, being a Muslim minority, for example, living in California or Quebec or something, how do you understand why sometimes your children will leave Islam or question Islam or deny hijab or not want to follow in the culture that you came for, which is, of course, more Islamic, even though, let's say, it's like a lot of people say, oh, these cultures back home are so backwards, this and that, problems, corruption. It's still more Islamic and more conducive to Islam than, California or, Utah or whatever, or Florida. This is the reality. So we understand now how the brain develops from the age of 5, 6, 7, preschool, going into school every single day, the educational system, the culture, what you see around, you're learning, you're building your identity. And you reach the age of 18, now you're supposedly considered mature by law, and you run away from home, or you leave, or you say, I don't want Islam anymore. Why not? But I've tried my best, right? Parents say, yeah, but it's not for me. I'm not that. I'm not you. I'm not from Pakistan. I was born in the United States of America. Look at my passport. It says born in Orange County. What do you want to do? So understand where this is coming from. Not necessarily the parent has done something wrong, other than maybe that they're where they are. And that's where, again, people shoot down the concept of hijrah or living in the non-Muslim land. So, it's just an easy thing that's dismissed today. But when you look at it from this perspective and understanding culture, that yes, you can protect. You can try to protect. Yes, you have your masjid and you have your community and you have so many positive things. Yet these subconscious things that are built into you, these observations, seeing just the peripheral view of picking up certain things can influence the way you think. Just your peripheral view can pick up something on the street and will influence the way you think in the future. And if it happens every single day, even if you lower your gaze and you walk, but you're still going to pick up things, even that affects the way your brain works and how you will see your perspective in life. So, culture is a huge role. It plays a huge role in why some people deny Islam, leave Islam, change their habits, go against their parents' culture, and so on. Again, remember, I'm not trying to validate a certain culture that many people might have issues with certain parts of it. That's not what I'm doing. But definitely, a lot of these back home Muslim cultures are much, much better than what you get in the West. Because in the West, there's no concept of religion. There's no concept of slowly. Morality is very relative. And we could see, I think 2021 has been a shock to many people of how morality can change so fast. So just to understand this concept, because many parents are writing to me, married parents are contacting me that my child has left Islam, has ran away with this boy or this girl or this or that, they become homosexual, they've done this, and I don't know what I've done wrong. Do I absolve the parents from some fault and issues? No, we all have faults. Who's going to be a perfect parent? Everyone's going to make parenting mistakes. But when you make parenting mistakes in the West or in these countries, it can really cost you because they have something to benchmark you against. That is a different culture, that is superior in terms of number and occurrences. While if you were to be back home, the brain wouldn't react the same way because around them, they would kind of see some of the same things. They doesn't excuse the parents in their mistakes, but the way the brain would react, because they're so used to it, that they would say, well, is it really something that I need to leave Islam for? Are there even options for that? No, right? It would, I mean, there's no people who leave Islam back home. There are, but that's a whole different story because globalization and colonization has left its impact on it. Pakistan today is not what was Pakistan, when it formed. Let's not forget that. But back home, you look around, for example, if a father puts his hand on his child at a certain age to teach him some manners, and it's a good father, not abuse, I'm not talking about abuse. Looking around in your country, you'll find that many people do the same, and it's something acceptable. They respond to the elders. Our teachers used to smack sometimes, Whether I agree with this or that can be debated. Can a parent and a teacher discipline their child? 100%. And this was the case for thousands of years. Only recently, with these child acts and all this United Nations and children's, because there's been abuse, no doubt about it. But now it's gone on another extreme where the child beats the father. So you go to these countries, and if the father just grabs the child slowly or something, or shakes him to wake up for something, and right away they look around, oh, this is abuse. Everyone's saying abuse, abuse, abuse. So the culture is overwhelmingly tell us abuse, abuse, abuse. So of course the child will feel like I'm being abused, I need to leave home, and the government is sponsoring you to be somewhere or something. So they will of course be it's a conducive environment for you to break free from your family, to cry and scream abuse even though he just shook you or something like that, because everyone is doing it. So the culture is like that, isn't it? But if you're back home, Bangladesh, Pakistan, man, your parents will give you sometimes to wake you up, and your teacher and elders are respected and this and that. And I'm talking about abuse, no rape, no this thing that sometimes happens back home. I'm talking about just discipline, because sometimes people forget about the difference. And they'll refute me by saying, yeah, but in Pakistan, this hell happened and that guy was killed, this child was abused and this. I'm against that. 100% against that. It's not from the Sunnah. It's not from Islam. We're talking about discipline. Simple discipline is grabbing someone by the collar and saying, hey, my son, wake up. Respect your elders. Oh, police, 911, I'm being abused. Emotionally, I feel psychologically depressed, abused. I want to leave. I want to divorce my parents. Let's do it, brother. We're ready for you, to support you. We'll give you place. We'll support you financially. Government, state-sponsored breaking of families. Think about that. Barakallahu feekum. If you like this content and videos I created, please check out my description and click on the links. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.